Hello, welcome in. Happy Saturday. It's John Dickinson and Kyle Haar. It's just Dubs, even though the screen still says Dubs OT. We always got to make that switch. I'm noticing it now. I wasn't noticing it. Kyle and I were both missing it. I mean, it literally takes like a half a second to flip. But yeah, I'm now like noticing it every time. Like it's hit my OCD, Kyle. You've hit the OCD algorithm for JD. On the Just Dubs versus Dubs OT. But we're here for Just Dubs. It's YouTube only because the Giants are playing the Yankees in New York, hopefully, weather permitting, at Yankee Stadium. Giants got a rain-shortened victory last night. Warriors got a victory up north in Portland last night, 103-86. Chaos abounding in the Western Conference. Denver with a big comeback to beat Memphis last night. The Clippers almost gagged one in Sacramento. Minnesota, they were able to get a win last night to set themselves up pretty well, but then Anthony Edwards picks up a technical foul that would require him to miss tomorrow's 82nd game of the season as Minnesota's going to host Utah. So we got all the scenarios for you. It has become pretty clear here with the events of last night, just where things sit as it relates to the Warriors. And we laid this out last night, but I think it's a good place to start to just reiterate things and look toward tomorrow as the Warriors play the Clippers in a huge game for both teams at Chase Center tomorrow, 12:30. And also let everybody know that we're going to be on, of course, with Dubs OT from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City immediately following the game. Probably going to start tomorrow on YouTube and then join on KNBR after Giants postgame and extra innings with Bill Lasky. But tomorrow is massive. The Warriors have two outcomes now for tomorrow. They can either finish sixth in the Western Conference. If they win, they will be sixth, and they will take on the Los Angeles Lakers in the 3-6 matchup in the Western Conference playoffs. Oklahoma City is 1. We know that. Houston is 2. We know that. And then you look at the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers clinched the 3 spot last night with their win over the Rockets. So the Warriors, if they are 6, and they can now go no higher than 6. They cannot get to 5. They cannot get to 4. Both of those things had been in play and would still be in play if the Warriors had been able to beat San Antonio. But those options for the Dubs are now gone. So you look at the way things sit right now. Warriors win tomorrow. Any combination of Warriors win, Warriors are 6. Automatic, book it, nothing to see here. Warriors win, they're playing the Lakers in a series that likely will begin a week from tonight down in Los Angeles. If the Warriors lose, they will be 7th in the Western Conference, finish the regular season 7th, and they'll be headed to the play-in tournament. The only play-in tournament opponent for the Warriors, Kyle, would be Memphis in the first game, and the game would be at Chase Center. If you win that game, because you lose the game tomorrow, then you would be the 7 seed, and you would play the Houston Rockets. So there's a tomorrow path that sees the Warriors play the Lakers if they beat the Clippers. There's a Tuesday path which sees the Warriors play the Rockets if they beat the Grizzlies. And then there's a third path where if the Warriors were to lose tomorrow and Tuesday, they would get a second play-in option on Friday night against the team that wins between Dallas and Sacramento. Dallas and Sacramento are in the other play-in game. That's locked. We don't know where it's going to be. It's most likely going to be in Sacramento. If the Kings win tomorrow against the Suns, that game will be in Sacramento. If the Suns win tomorrow and Dallas is able to win tomorrow against Memphis, then Dallas would host that game. But that would be the third and final option. You lose the first 2. You get a chance to play Sacramento or Dallas at Chase Center again on Friday. And if you have to go that route, you would end up with Oklahoma City in the first round of the playoffs. She'd be the 8 seed. So 3 different opponents, most likely still the Lakers. There's one other scenario where the Warriors can clinch tomorrow. If they lose, it's if Minnesota also loses to Utah. And again, I don't foresee, and I don't think anybody foresees Minnesota losing to Utah, although Anthony Edwards, at least for the time being, and I haven't seen anything this morning yet about Edwards and his suspension and whether or not it'll be held up for tomorrow or rescinded. He picked up that 18th technical foul in the game last night against Brooklyn, but they may have to try to win that game without Anthony Edwards, which is kind of crazy. So Kyle will bring you in here. Warriors and Clippers. Clippers need the game tomorrow also, which is another thing to keep in mind here. If the Clippers lose tomorrow, then the Clippers could end up dipping to the 7 seed, depending upon what happens in some of these other games. So the Clippers, to avoid the play-in tournament, and the most likely scenarios, Denver winning with the Clippers losing, obviously would put them down in that 7 spot, as long as Minnesota wins, because Minnesota would have a 3-way tiebreaker basically over the Warriors and Clippers. In that scenario, it would go Minnesota 5, Warriors 6, and the Clippers 7. So the Warriors don't have enough 3-way tiebreaker to move in front of both of those teams and get to 5. They would be stuck at 6, but Minnesota has the ability to move up to 5, and the Clippers, obviously, with a win, have the ability to move up to 5 or 4. So it's a big game for the Clippers because they could be in the play-in tournament. It's a big game for the Warriors because they could be in the play-in tournament. A lot of different scenarios, Kyle, but things have settled in here. There are 3 true outcomes for the Warriors potentially this week.
Yeah. It's nice to have a clear path of where the Warriors could end up. But going into tomorrow, I think I'm not super confident. I'm not going to call it a win, but I am confident now that the Warriors know what they need to do to get the 6th seed, and that's simply to win. And I think we've seen time to time when the Warriors are in a do or die scenario, they usually come out on top. So in that sense, I am confident that the Warriors will come away with the win tomorrow.
Yeah, and they haven't beaten the Clippers this year, 0-3, but you basically can throw the first 3 out, I think, somewhat, because the Clippers and Warriors have not played since the Jimmy Butler trade. The 3 games very early in the year. The home opener for the Warriors was the Clippers. So they, interestingly enough, for a schedule nerd as I am, the Warriors' first home game against the Clippers, last home game against the Clippers, first road game against Portland, last road game against Portland. Kind of odd the way it ended up with those teams playing each other both at the beginning and the end. But we haven't seen this matchup. Kawhi Leonard's been playing out of his mind the last month and a half. I think the Clippers are a better team than they've been for the most part this season. But the Warriors, to the tune of the 22-4 in the 26 games where Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler have both been available to play, the Warriors are a much better team. I also think, just going into that matchup specifically, to your point, I think the Warriors have a little bit, they have a little bit of the prior play-in trauma that I mean, Steph got asked about it last night, and he sort of smiled, but he really said, like, yeah, we hadn't worked out for us in that scenario in the play-in. And you'll go back to 2021, they got beat twice and ended up having their spot taken by the Grizzlies. Lost to the Lakers, couldn't get the 7, then lost to the Grizzlies, couldn't get the 8, ended up on the outside looking in. And then obviously last year they ended up in a 9-10 game against a team that they tied with in the regular season in Sacramento and got blown out. And then the Kings went on to lose to the Pelicans, and the Pelicans ended up with the 8 spot. So nobody got in among the teams trying to steal a spot, basically, is how I look at it. But if you look at this, I think there's enough play-in trauma to where, and we had the debate last night, and we'll throw it out here again this morning about, what is the best path for the Warriors? Would it be better to all things being equal? I know they're not, but do you want to make sure you're in tomorrow, but you play the Lakers, versus if you don't win tomorrow? I think the best way to say it is it's a hell of a nice backup plan if you can't get tomorrow. that you'd be able to play Memphis at Chase Center, and if you win that game, you're playing Houston. I think all things being equal, the Rockets still are the most favorable playoff matchup for the Warriors. And here's the other part of that. If you play the Rockets 2-7, you're still playing the Lakers in the second round. So maybe that makes it, well, if you're going to play them in the second round, you might as well play them in the first round when you're potentially more fresh coming off of a week off, which the Warriors would get if they're able to win tomorrow. But I think it's interesting when you look at how everything shakes out here. Even though the Lakers, and I don't think the Warriors fear the Lakers, but even though the Lakers are a better team, don't have the better seed, but a better team than the Rockets, I think the Warriors just want to get in, get it done, have a full week. They believe that they can beat the Clippers. They believe they can beat the Lakers. They showed they can beat the Lakers with the game in LA a couple weeks. I say a couple weeks ago. That game was last week. That game was like a week and 2 days ago. That game feels like it was like 3 weeks ago in LA when the Warriors beat the Lakers, but it was literally last Thursday. So, yeah, I think the trauma of the play-in is going to have the Warriors playing their ass off tomorrow to try and win and get in and not mess around with any of the play-in games, because each play-in game that you have to play, and tomorrow's basically a play-in game for the Warriors. Each of the play-in games that you have to play, high-intensity games, there's more potential risk for injury. There's also more potential risk for the Warriors to be fatigued going up against younger teams as this thing goes on, especially the game against Memphis. If you play balls out tomorrow and you wind up, let's say, going to overtime and losing, even though that game would be more than 48 hours away because it's an afternoon game tomorrow and the play-in game against Memphis would be Tuesday night, it would take a lot out of you that you'd have to find the emotional lift for again to be able to get that spot. Now, again, all that being said, though, Kyle, I think Houston would be the tough matchup, but no messing around. Nice backup plan for the Warriors to have if they have to use it, but there's no way in hell they want to use it.
Yeah, no way in hell. And then when you mess around with the basketball gods, you do bring in a bunch of different factors. Yeah, you bring in injury. You bring it, this is an old team. Steph has been banged up, which feels like all season. And Memphis, and then there's no guarantee that you beat Memphis, even though they would be favored in that matchup, but there's no guarantee that you beat Memphis. And let's say you do lose. Now you have to face either AD and the Mavs or the Kings.
AD and Clay.
AD and Clay. How about Clay going back to Golden One center in the play-in again? But yeah, and then let's just say that they win that Mav and or King matchup. Now you're facing the Thunder in the first round, and now it's not looking extremely likely that you come out with the playoff series victory.
Well, the problem with that, and look, nobody wants that scenario. Nobody wants and because you don't want the third scenario, you best not risk getting into the second scenario. And again, the Clippers have a say in this too. It's not like the Warriors can flip a switch tomorrow and just automatically win the game. The Warriors could play very well tomorrow. The Clippers could play very well tomorrow. Comes down to the end, and either team obviously can win that game. I mean, James Harden's been terrific. Kawhi's been terrific. They've got a lot of players, as we talked about last night on Dubs OT. The Clippers have a lot of players that bother the Warriors. Norm Powell, Kawhi, Amir Coffey, somebody that hasn't played the last couple of games but could be back for that game tomorrow. Zubats is somebody that gives the Warriors problems on the interior. So I think that's the true, you're going to be tested tomorrow. But if you lose tomorrow, you lose the other one. Even if you win against Dallas or Sacramento Friday in the third option, even if you win that game, you're probably playing Sunday afternoon in OKC. So think about that. You play till 9:30, 10 o'clock Friday night at Chase Center. You win, and then you're immediately on a plane Saturday morning flying halfway across the country and probably playing an afternoon game against the Thunder because TV rules all. And I think the Warriors or the league would want the Warriors to be in that ABC Sunday 12:30 Pacific, 2:30 Central in OKC time slot. I don't think they'd give the Warriors a night game even in the first game. at OKC, and they would say, hey, you lost 2 games that could have allowed you to play maybe Saturday. Again, I think if the Warriors play the Lakers, they're going to start Saturday. If the Warriors play Houston, I think it's 50-50. I think they could start Saturday. I think they could start Sunday in that 12:30 slot as well. And I think if they end up playing Oklahoma City and they have to play the Kings or Mavs, they will have to start Sunday. So I think it would be in that 2:30 slot likely. And that would basically put you to where you're 0-1 in a series in terms of rest against a young Thunder team, and it immediately reduces your margin for error to win that series. Not that the Warriors couldn't win that series, but the margin for error completely would go down in that series. So yeah, I think from that standpoint, it's another vote for just get the job done if you can against the Clippers tomorrow and move forward and take your chances against the Lakers. I mean, the flip side to the coin is, and I'm looking in the chat, Milton Jr. 18, what matchup do Kyle and JD want? Houston. That's my answer. That Houston would be I think Houston's the best possible matchup for everything. You still get 3 days of rest. And again, I'm not saying you trick it. I'm not saying you root for that because you don't want your team to lose if you're a Warrior fan. But all things being equal, the Houston path, I think, is probably the best path if that's the way that it plays out. But again, you're going to be going through some trauma and some worry over the couple of days, and maybe in that game that you might lose it and have to play the third game. But no, to answer the question, Milton Jr. 18, I think it's Houston. I think it's inexperienced Houston. I think it's a Houston team that it's questionable as to whether or not they can score enough, consistently enough in a series, which I think plays well for the Warriors, because I think one of the Warrior questions in the playoffs is, can they score enough to win enough in a series? Are their young guys going to hit shots? I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. And I think the Rockets are the one team that the Warriors would be able to beat, even if they have a rough series in terms of some of the young players being able to score. Won't be easy, but I think you can look at the other options and state pretty specifically that if the young guys if Podziemski, Moody don't hit shots, if they don't get shooting from the others, that they're probably not going to beat the Lakers or Oklahoma City in that scenario. I think they could still beat Houston. Now, Houston will beat the shit out of the Warriors physically. The Warriors may win, and I think the Warriors would win. But the downside of the Rockets is that series will be a bloodbath. That series will be knockdown, drag out, maybe multiple altercations, flagrant fouls, possible suspensions. Like, that's the one thing. Like, all of those things are on the table. You imagine how much shit would be talked back and forth between the Rockets, who, as we've noted, with the win at Chase Center on Sunday, believe that, I guess, that they're in the Warriors' heads because they had the Warriors complaining to the officials all game Sunday in the one that the Rockets were able to win. But I don't know. Where are you on that, Kyle? Because I think that series physically, it gets back to if you play the Rockets, you got to play the Lakers next. If you play the Lakers first, then you're playing the Rockets or the Clippers. You're probably playing Clippers next. But Rockets first means less in the tank for the Lakers in the second round. Is there a case to be made that playing the Lakers without having to play the Rockets first gives the Warriors a better chance to beat the Lakers?
Yeah, no, you bring up a bunch of good points. And the thing that I was going to go with about playing the Lakers first is you might get the Rockets in the second round anyway. You might get to face them in a playoff series anyway, instead of having to play them in that first round and get beat down. And the one thing I took away from the most recent Warrior-Rocket game, and the Warriors came off an incredible 3-game stretch against Memphis, LA, and the Nuggets, and obviously we're fatigued and didn't have it that game. But the one thing I took away from that Warrior Rocket game is the Rockets, they have the defensive personnel to really clamp down on Steph. They put Amen Thompson down on Steph and let the other guys beat you. And I'm sitting here and I don't know if I have the confidence to say Pods, Moody, Draymond will hit enough open shots to beat a team. But I mean, I do think the Warriors' experience over the Rockets' inexperience comes out on top. But that game is tough because I think the Rockets defensively will bring it. And yeah, there's oh my god, I can already just like picture the Dylan Brooks, Draymond Green like back and forth and potential game suspensions.
Well, and again, Steven Adams is in that series with the Rockets. I mean, the Rockets have a bunch of guys. Fred VanVleet is in that series for the Rockets. I mean, there are a lot of guys that the Warriors have battled with.
Ime Udoka
over the years, and so we'll see. Tari Eason is somebody that of late has hopped into that conversation. So again, we'll have to see how it ultimately shakes out. But that, to me, that's the scenario where if you really are trying to thread the needle, and again, the Warriors are not trying to thread the needle. They're trying to win Sunday and get in and get the rest and take your chances against the Lakers. But if it doesn't work out against the Clippers tomorrow and they have to play Memphis, I'm much more confident, by the way, Kyle, that they can beat Memphis in the play-in game. The one thing that really had me fully out on the play-in the last couple of days was the prospect of playing Minnesota. And I know the Warriors took 3 out of 4 against both Minnesota and Memphis, but we've seen Minnesota ramp it up with Anthony Edwards and ramp it up with their defense. Last year in particular, when they knocked out the Nuggets, like there's something about, to me, the prospect of Anthony Edwards in a one-off, even at Chase Center. We've seen Minnesota come in and didn't happen this year, although they did win at Chase Center one game this year, then they lost the next game back in early December. Warriors took 3 of 4 against both, but Minnesota's played pretty well at Chase Center the last couple of years. And so I just, that's the one, and that cannot happen now. The only play-in tournament game that the Warriors can play of the first game, if they lose tomorrow, will be against Memphis. All scenarios lead to that because Memphis got beat last night and they're now a game behind everybody else. Now they could wind up 7th, but only if the Warriors wind up 6th. So Minnesota could play Denver, or I'm sorry, Memphis could end up playing Denver and Memphis could end up playing Minnesota, but all of those scenarios would be the Warriors as the 6th seed and avoiding the play-in tournament completely. So again, Memphis is no slouch per se, but I have a lot more confidence in the Warriors' ability to win a one-off against the Grizzlies at Chase Center than I would winning a one-off against Minnesota at Chase Center. So that's the part that makes me feel better. I feel better, Kyle. I'll put it this way. I feel better about all of the different options for the Warriors today than I would have yesterday or Wednesday night after they got beat by San Antonio, just based on the fact that they know if they have to play 3 times this week, there's no travel. It's all at home. They know if they have to play the second game, it's against Memphis and not Minnesota. And look, if you get in a position where you have to play that third game and don't win it, I mean, that's on you at that point. Like, if you go 0-3 at home with 3 chances to clinch and get in and play somebody, and the latter against, Dallas without Kyrie or the Kings post De'Aaron Fox, I mean, that, like, if you can't, I mean, the Warriors have beaten that team twice since the Jimmy Butler trade, and twice pretty comfortably since the Jimmy Butler trade. So yeah, you don't want a team like that, the Kings or Mavs, to kind of come in and be able to get a free shot. But if you can't win one of the next three, then forget about it. Like you deserve, you will have earned your fate. And, we don't have to spend too much time on it because that's what next week's show will be completely about if it happens. But there would obviously be some wholesale changes depending upon how that shakes out if the Warriors end up in that position. But I feel good about the ability to not only have them win tomorrow, but Tuesday, and even though nobody wants it to win Friday, I feel much better about the possible paths than I would have 24 hours ago.
I also do think if you do end up in a playoff series with the Thunder, I mean, we don't want that, but the Thunder haven't been that good against the top Western teams this season. They've won. I think they've only lost one game against the whole Eastern Conference, but I think they're like 11-8. The last time I checked against
they went 29-1. They went 29-1
right.
against the East. The one was what was it? Boston or Cleveland? That beat? I think it was I can't remember. But anyway, they lost one game against the East.
Yeah, but so I think. I don't want it, but I think the Warriors will make that series competitive. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to a 7-game series. But I don't know. I think the way you put it in terms of it's a nice backup plan that if the Warriors lose tomorrow, they still have another favorable matchup against Memphis. And if they won that, then they have a favorable matchup against the Rockets.
Exactly. So I think that's how you look at this thing. More in the chat here. It's just Dubs with JD, John Dickinson. We're going to go for about another half hour. We'll go till about 11. We'll get some, Kyle's clicks here in Andis Brown. Rockets have the personnel to make it difficult for the Warriors on offense. They have the guys to defend. They do. There's no doubt. I don't think in a playoff series with the Warriors and Rockets, I do not think that enough games will be officiated the way that the game last Sunday was officiated to where the Rockets will be as dominant defensively as they were, if that makes sense. Like I think the league is going to be hyper focused on that series specifically if it comes to fruition and the Warriors play the Rockets, considering the way that game went last week at Chase Center. I basically, even though in the playoffs more physicality is allowed, and here's where I'm good. I mean, I don't mean to sound conspiracy theory-ish, and I know Warrior fans completely disagree with this, but I don't think the Rockets are going to get a great whistle against the Warriors. I really don't. I maybe in a game or two, but I think, and we've seen this in other playoff series, the Warriors early in some of those series don't get the whistle that maybe they think they should, but as those series go on, they do. And, this used to happen back in the day with the Lakers. Like they wouldn't get the whistle maybe early, but as the series went on, they would start to get the whistle that they felt they deserve. And so I think, it truly is a position where I just don't think that the officials are going to let what happened happen again. To that level. That was all right, regular season game, first week of April, and the Warriors didn't play well. The Rockets really ramped it up. But I'll say it this way, and we'll get to the Rusty Nail comment. I think if the Rockets play the exact same game defensively that they played against the Warriors last Sunday, they're going to get called for like 8 more fouls, and they're going to be the team that's pissed off. And they're going to be the team that thinks that the fix is in, and they're going to be the team that is going to that's going to have their mood shift to a point where the Warriors have the potential to get in their head. Does that make sense? Like that's just how I see it playing out. Like you could play that same game again, Kyle, and the Rockets get called for 8 more fouls, and the Warriors shoot, 8 more free throws, let's say, and end up winning the game, and it completely tilts back the other way.
I think a good example was that Memphis game and how Memphis they were literally hugging Steph Curry and they, I mean, not all the time, but they would get They called it. They called it more so than in that Rockets game.
The Laker game, and I'm not saying it would necessarily be that way in a Laker series, because we do tend to, notice that the Lakers tend to, get a better whistle. But the Lakers got called for a lot of fouls in the Laker Warrior tilt back at Crypto.com Arena. So yeah, I just think, again, I do not think that the Rockets, I want to keep it on that, will get the whistle that they got in that game at Chase last week in the play. Maybe in a game or two, but I don't think they're going to get it in 4, 5, 6 games of a potential 6 or 7 game playoff series. Rusty Nail, Steph has been getting a better whistle since that game, thankfully. Yeah, I think he's going to – I don't think it's going to be something that's completely out of hand to where Warrior fans are going. I mean, Warrior fans are probably going to go crazy about it because Warrior fans go crazy about it anyway. But again, my bet would be that it's not officiated in a similar way if those two teams end up facing each other. All right, more Kyle's clicks. Erwin Kwong, Butler, Curry, whoever else. Looking at you, Kuminga. Need to get the Houston front line in foul trouble, force them to take the gas off their defensive pressure. I definitely think that's going to be part of the game plan. Yet the other part, too, is like the Rockets may come out overamped in one of these games if they play each other, and that can get you in foul trouble. And then, like I was saying, once you start to get in a little bit of foul trouble, or you think you're not getting the whistle you deserve early, then you start getting all pissed off at the officials. You get frustrated. We've seen the Warriors have that happen to them. We saw it happen with Luka against the Warriors. The Rockets run extremely hot. You got Ime Udoka saying, "Oh yeah, we knew, and they couldn't handle it, and I told them to ramp it up." Well, again, if a couple of those fouls get called, then what are you saying to your team? At that point, as they're the team that's getting technical fouls, and they're the team that's arguing with the officials, and they're the team that's feeling Draymond's getting away with too much. Like a lot of that works both ways. I do think this is a good point, a good time to get to Kuminga. Because, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on it because I think it's one small portion of the grand scheme here for the Warriors, but he's just not going to play as much if he doesn't play well. And I saw Tim Kawakami of the SF Standard. He just happened to on Twitter this morning, or on X, and I was looking, and he said, hey, he's going to play. I thought he encapsulated it well, although it's in line with what we've talked about for a month since Kuminga came back. It's the simple fact that he's going to play about 6 minutes to end the first quarter, right? And he's going to play about 6 minutes to end the third quarter, and that's about it. Unless he's playing well, he might get a couple of more minutes in the second and fourth quarter, early second, early fourth quarter for Draymond or Jimmy Butler to get a little bit of a rest. But it's really going to be more, I think, in the 12 to 20 minute range, unless he's cooking, unless it's like the Laker game. And if it's like the Laker game or it's like the Sacramento game, his first game back, I think those are the best two versions of Kuminga we've seen are those two games, his first game back against the Kings and the game in LA against the Lakers. I don't think there's any way to predict what teams he'll do it against or not. Like, I think he's proven himself to be kind of matchup independent. There are nights where you think he would not play well, he does. There are matchups where you think he would play well, he doesn't. Like I feel like who they're playing against kind of doesn't matter as it relates to Kuminga. But we've known this here, I think, for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. He's just another role player. He's a role player that on a given night can have enough upside to help them really win a game if he's playing closer to his best of his capabilities. He's a role player that's going to play 6 to 12 minutes if he doesn't have it. And risk being out of the playoff rotation potentially if it's really bad the next game, depending upon the matchups. Like that's just That's just the reality. I think for Jonathan Kuminga, nobody should complain about it, although Kuminga, as I've said a lot, Kyle, Jonathan Kuminga lives really well in the sense that if he doesn't play a lot and the Warriors lose, automatically there's a big chunk of the fan base and a chunk of the media, frankly, that's going to say he should have played more. Why didn't he play more? More Kuminga, always good. Like that, there is whenever the Warriors lose and he doesn't play a lot, even if he doesn't play well, the default position is more Kuminga would have been good. And that's just not how Steve Kerr looks at it. And I think Steve Kerr's correct to not look at it that way. He lives in that space where it's kind of, he just kind of gets a free pass, honestly, for if they don't win. Now, if they win and he doesn't play a lot and he doesn't play well, nobody says shit. But when they lose against anybody on any night, it's always, well, why did Kuminga only play 12 minutes? Why did Kuminga only play 18 minutes? Why did Kuminga only play? And very rarely is that actually a legitimate thing. Again, Steph, with his comments about let's not make the grand determinations after every game with him, I think, and then Steve doubling down. I think that was the end of the belief that Kuminga was going to be this dramatic ceiling raiser, and that was a myth, by the way. I'm going to say that now. Like, the idea that Kuminga was going to be the number 3 for 4 rounds of a playoff, averaging 20 to 25 like he did before his injury, that was a complete farce that was ever going to happen. And there's so many, again, fans, media, fan media, so many invested in commit. Maybe it's just trying to kiss up to the owner. I don't know what it is, but there are so many invested in Kuminga being a major part of this. He's just another role player. Just another role player, Kyle. And that's okay.
He's another role player, and he doesn't fit. And I think he's in the same tier now going into the playoffs as Buddy Hield, but at least Buddy Hield can space the floor.
Buddy's definitely in that category, Kyle. Buddy is definitely in the 3 minutes, and if you're bad, you won't get more run. Let's not go crazy. I'll let you continue though. Continue on.
No, they're definitely in that same tier, and I think they're the only two. Maybe you could put Quinn Post as well, but Quinn Post you also you need him. He's big and can shoot, but they're in that same tier of you see what you can get out of them, but if they are really hurting you, then you can't play them the rest of the game.
No, you cannot. And again, that's not to say I mentioned this last week. That's not to say that if Kuminga isn't playing a lot, that he can't come in at any point and have a really good 4 to 6 minute stretch and help them. Like, that could happen. And I think I would be willing to bet that there is a game where nobody's expecting Kuminga to do anything. We might need to mark the tape on this one. Not that we have to put it out there today, but we need to mark the tape because we might want to come back to it. I'd be willing to bet, all things critical of Kuminga aside, I'd be willing to bet there's a game where Kuminga comes in, nobody's expecting him to do anything, and he has a game kind of like the Lakers game, where it's like, oh, damn, he's awesome tonight. It's clicking, the right matchup, he's in the right headspace, he's getting to his little spot, he's hitting that shitty midi that he loves to take over and over and over like he's Kevin Durant in his prime. He hits one of the terrible threes. The quick shot clock threes that he casts off on.
Let me tell you, the 3-point shooting has been atrocious, and it's been pissing me off lately.
He's got to stop taking it.
He's taking 4 threes again. I'm like, stop. He's early in the shot clock as well too.
He's got to stop taking it unless the ball gets kicked back to him or it's in the corner. And if you miss the first couple corners, then you basically need to shut that shot down for the night. But all that being said, and I'm looking at jokes on you here in the chat from early on. JD, there's been a lot of talk around of Kerr around Kuminga's fit. Do you think he's coaching through the media or getting fans prepared if Kuminga might not play in the offs? I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it. Joke's on you. I think what Steve's trying to do at a minimum is let everybody know that it isn't going to be the version that people thought it could be, where it was just he was going to play a ton, he was going to be out there with Jimmy and Draymond, and it's 30 minutes a game, and he's going to be scoring. They're going to have 3 20-point a game scorers, because Kuminga is going to be the third one, on average every night. No, what Kerr is trying to say is the lineups, and he's explained it specifically in this sense, like there are just not enough. Kuminga's best combinations prevent the other most important Warrior players from being on the court. Like, that's just the reality. Like, he plays well with Steph, but he doesn't play well with Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. He doesn't play well with Jimmy. Like, he can play well with Draymond and Steph. We've seen that if Draymond's at the 5 and he's at the 4 and you have another shooter out there, maybe pods. Like, we've seen that. But you're not playing that group a ton of minutes, because then it means Jimmy Butler's out. So you're only it has to fit. And yeah, I do think I think Steve I think he's had the conversation with Kuminga a couple of times, like, hey, just be ready. You're going to get this shift, rebound, defend, don't take bad shots, keep the ball moving. And some nights he's done it, other nights he hasn't. Like, I don't think he hasn't been bad every night, but by any stretch. But I think I do think he's getting fans prepared for the fact that, not that he's not going to play at all, but I think he's getting fans prepared for the fact that the baseline for him is more like 12 to 20 minutes. I think now, and it's gone down, right? Like, I think a lot of people thought 25 to 30 when he came back, and then that went down to like 20 to 25. But he's going to be in the closing lineups, right? Remember, it was the best closing lineups going to be Steph, Moody or Pajemski, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond. Like, that's going to be the lineup. And Steve even said initially that's the lineup. Eventually we want to get to it. I don't think that lineup inspires a lot of confidence among the Warriors coaching staff. And you know what? I'm also going to say this, Kyle. I don't think that lineup inspires a lot of confidence among Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler, which is another part of it. That's another part. It's not just Steve. The veterans can see it. The veteran guys can see the lack of fit in a lot of these lineup combinations, and they'll tell Steve, don't do this, don't do that. We can't risk this. Can't have that. So, again, I do think he has the ability to be impactful in individual games. I don't want to have it like I'm saying he's completely worthless, because that's not the case. But the one thing I've been trying to do here for the last couple of weeks is definitely tamp down the expectations. There could be a Laker game. There could be a couple of Laker games from last week in there for Kuminga. There could be a sack game type play for Kuminga in there. But there also could be a really bad shift in the first half that sets the Warriors back in a game, and Steve won't risk going back to it in the second half. And maybe he winds up playing 6 to 9 minutes if he's not playing well. But again, I do think that he has the ability to make a positive impact. I think there will be a game, Kyle. I'm going to say it one more time. There will be a game where everybody is like, Kuminga is kind of written off, and he comes in and it's like, oh, this is he's playing great. He's doing all because he does do that he does do that once every 4 games. Once every 3 or 4 games. He does do that. Like, it's not like he's but you don't know what night it's going to be, and you definitely can't count on it. Right. So it just that's his existence right now on this team, Kyle.
We didn't play the sound, and I thought this was pretty telling. But we didn't play this sound from Steve Kerr post game last night. But he said we have to pass the ball better. We have to get spaced better. We have to develop a rhythm. We were in a
Yes.
better place, I think, a few weeks ago. Well, you know what happened a few weeks ago?
Yeah. Well, it's true.
It
He's
is.
not
It
lying.
is.
Like, their offense has not been the same since Kuminga came back. It hasn't. And to the point, make or miss, I'm not putting it necessarily completely on him, but the lineup combinations have changed. Like, they were dialed. They were dialed. Like, and again, it's Steph time, it's Jimmy time, it's Draymond time, it's ball movement time. It's high IQ players around those guys. That's what it is. It's high IQ players around the big three: Steph, Jimmy, Draymond. That's what it ultimately has to be. So again, I'm not writing Kuminga off completely, but you do definitely need to. And when he has that game, by the way, then everybody's going to say you got to play him 30 minutes the next game. That's what, because that's what happens every time he has that game.
Yeah.
If they lose and he doesn't play a lot, you needed more of him. If he does play well, it's like, well, start him, play him 40 minutes a game, like that. LLM in the chat. It used to be JK couldn't play with Wiggins. Now JK can't play with Jimmy. Maybe JK just isn't a fit with the Kerr system. Well, they got it to the point where he and Wiggins could play together at the end. Him and Dray, but it had to be with Draymond at center. It could not be him and Wiggins and like Looney and Draymond. Like, it just, he had to play the four, and that meant he actually, you know who Kuminga actually plays well with? He plays well with Looney, but it's got to be Looney at the 5, Kuminga at the 4, like Steph, Buddy and another defender, Steph, Buddy, and Moody, or something like that. It just but he has played well with Looney out there. But yeah, he doesn't fit. And it's a conversation I guess for next year. I guess. I mean, to be honest, if it's a conversation for next year, to me that means he's not on the roster next year. So I actually don't really think it's a conversation. I know we don't want to do the existential, we don't want to do this thing Steph Curry said don't do, where every game it's like, but I'm just going to say, like, what we've seen overall, he shouldn't be on the team next year. Like, straight up. Like, he should be used to bring in the player that can put them over the top. Because it's not, he is showing that it's not him. And why would we do this again? Maybe because the Warriors think they can get him on a value play, but why would we do this again next year, where if this team comes up short this year, next year sure as hell is the championship run year. Why would the Warriors next year be messing around with, let's find out how Kuminga can fit, and let's find out the right lineups, and we're going to need him in the games where Jimmy Butler doesn't play, and we're going to need him in the games that Steph doesn't play. No, you're not doing that next year. Like, you go get Cam Johnson. Like, that's like, you don't F around with it. You just, so anyway, I did
Well,
it. We set off the Kuminga alarm, Kyle.
Here's a good transition. So now with GP2 back, I think he's someone
he's playing
that has shown that can work with the lineup and fits, and someone that could potentially take a lot of those JK minutes if he doesn't play.
Yeah, he's playing. Like, GP's playing. He's in the rotation. There's nights where physically he looks like he doesn't have it. There are some matchups against more athletic teams where GP isn't necessarily a fit, but or looks a little overwhelmed maybe. But I think if GP's healthy, he's going to be playing. And I think he's somebody you look to in the Houston matchup specifically, of if the Warriors have to play the zero-sum game and just go knockdown, drag-out mode to win 95-93, then he's going to be somebody that's going to be out there in that scenario. So, yeah, I think, but health will determine a lot of things. And look at last night. I hate to do this because the Spurs game was a debacle for many reasons, but the Warriors got GP2 back and got Quentin Post back. Looked like a completely different. Like they didn't play great for chunks of last night, but you know what? They had enough margin for error to still be comfortably ahead. And I think Quentin Post and GP2 being back, like they were missed in the Spurs game. They were both missed. Like that was a night where others didn't quite have it. And, maybe GP2 comes up with a couple of defensive plays. Maybe Quentin Post hits 2 threes in a key moment where he, ends up with 6 points, but instead of losing by 3, you win by 3. And it ends up being the difference in the game where somebody else that had been out there didn't have a shot to hit shots consistently. Rusty Nail GP2 is a far superior defender and higher IQ player. Like that's the other issue with the Kuminga thing is if his defense was on point, you could give him a little more leeway. But his defense is not on point. He falls asleep defensively. He's in the wrong spot. He doesn't rotate correctly. He still doesn't have the motor consistently to, some nights he's got it. Some nights he does. Some nights it's, wow, this guy's playing his ass off like he's like against the Lakers. And so other nights it's like, what's he doing out there? Like night to night, you don't. I'm talking in terms of defensive effort specifically. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just saying defensive effort. And you can almost tell the nights that the coaching staff has had a conversation with him before because it just his energy to rebound is different. His energy to defend is different. He's throwing his body around more. He's not like I think at times Kuminga, like I feel like he's so used to like coming up looking to score that I think his mindset is often I got to save my energy to be able to score. And I think the Warriors coaching staff is like, we don't give a shit if you score a ton. We want you to do the other things. And he's like kind of coasting through some of the defense. Like you ain't LeBron, bro. Like you don't get to coast through defensive possessions so you have enough energy to hit your pull-up midi. Like that's not what this is. Like you got to go play defense, man. You got to go rebound. Like you're just a guy. You're just a role player. And so I don't know. Sometimes I just don't think he just has the wrong mentality when it comes to that. And GP2 as somebody who's had to scrap for everything to get into the league, I think definitely has a different mindset. All right, let's continue here. We got about 10 more minutes or so. Why aren't we all talking about the Clippers? Let's talk about the Clippers. Let's talk about the Clippers. That is a tough matchup for the Warriors tomorrow. And again, one they have to win if they want to clinch their spot in the top 6 tomorrow. I mean, we've seen it. Harden controls the game against the Warriors, and they get enough. They have two-way players. They have Zubats who clogs the paint and rebounds and offensive rebounds and scores on the interior and gives them trouble. They have wings that defend. They have Kawhi. They have Norm Powell. They have Amir Coffey. Like they have a lot of guys who just bother the Warriors. Derek Jones Jr. is another one defensively. They have Chris Dunn, who probably isn't going to play a lot, but Chris Dunn could hound you for 5-6 minutes. Like he can get in on Steph and hound him for 5-6 minutes. Like they have the elite defense and coaching with Ty Lue that gives the Warriors problems, that makes it a lower scoring, ugly game. And then James Harden, if the Warriors are not on point defensively, they'll foul him a ton of times and he'll live at the line and just kind of control the game. Now we've seen the Warriors in the biggest of games in the playoffs use that against Harden, but this is a one-off regular season game tomorrow. So this is a very difficult matchup. I think this is a difficult. Now the Warriors with Jimmy, I think, have a little bit more dog to compete against some of those wing players. But I think this game, like so many, Kyle, tomorrow comes down to, first and foremost, always, are you going to get, like, what Steph are you getting? Because we've seen it. When Steph, like, you're not beating the Clippers tomorrow if Steph has 8 and is 3 for 12 from 3. 3 for 12 from 3 has 12 points. Like, so Steph's going to have to be in the 20s or 30s, number one, and efficient. Jimmy's going to have to get his 20 no matter how he does it. If it takes him 18 free throws, then it takes him 18 free throws. And the young guys are going to have to hit open shots because the Clippers are going to try to be physical with Steph, but also they're going to take the ball out of Steph's hands. And you got to play 4-on-3 on the back end with Draymond and Jimmy and Moody and Pods making shots and Kuminga taking advantage of his minutes to score on the interior and get to the free throw line. All of those things are true. The Clippers are a really difficult matchup. You throw out the game the Warriors punted on in December. The other two were very early, but let's and it's a completely different Warriors team, Kyle, but let's not forget the Clippers, when the Warriors were 12-3, the Clippers beat them twice in the 3. Like, so that was, again, different team. Warriors are a better team now, so are the Clippers. But the Clippers have been an issue for this team. So I don't know, Kyle. That's my general overview on that matchup tomorrow.
My big thing was, and I just want to clarify one thing. I don't think we've seen Kawhi yet, right? Because it was so early in the year.
Yes.
Okay. But in those matchups, I thought the dude that most gave them problems was freaking Zubac.
Yes, I mean, always.
His size always gives them problems. So it's how much can they contain Zubac, how much they can make him maybe a defensive liability in those pick and rolls that they like to do with Draymond. But I think Kawhi's been playing out of his mind, and even though when Curry had his insane week, Kawhi still won the Western Conference Player of the Week. So yeah. Kawhi's been playing so good, and yeah, these two teams are so different than when they last played each other. So we'll see. I do think, but yeah, the Clippers have 4 really good players.
The last time the Warriors and Clippers played was December 27th in Inglewood, and the Warriors punted on that game. They didn't play Steph. They didn't play Draymond. It was the first game of a back-to-back. They played the Suns the next night. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard came back a week after the last matchup that the Warriors faced the Clippers. Kawhi came back the week after. It was a slow build for Kawhi. In January, he averaged about 16, 17 points. In February, he averaged about 18. March and April, he's averaging over 25. And he's hitting the 3 ball. His shot has come back. He's shooting about 52%, 51.5% to 52% from the field. He's shooting in the mid 40s, roughly 3-point over the course of the last 2 months. Not a super high volume, but he's doing his thing. And you look at Kawhi, I'll just give it to you here. Since March 1st, so since the beginning of March, Kyle, here's Kawhi. Just points. 33, 21, 20, 17. That was the game where he hit the game winner against Sacramento, the ball that ticked the rim a couple of times and went in. Only 17 in that game, but hit the game winner. 29, 25, 23, 33, 23, 25, 27, 31, 21, 28, 20, 29, 22, 28. So he's been, again, it all averages out to about 25, but he's been 20 plus or pushing 30 almost every game for the last 6 weeks.
And he doesn't, he only takes like 13, 14 shots a game to get those numbers as well.
Correct. Yeah, no doubt. Although in April, I will say, in April, and honestly, it's been more. I'm looking at it right now. In April, it's 21, 22, 19, 17, 18, 22. Okay. Like there's a few more. He's pushing 20 a little more. They've been leaning on him a little bit more, I think, the last couple of months after maybe taking it easy the first couple of months that he's been back. Final thought on that matchup too, and I guess we'll go a little bit beyond 11 here to kind of close out the show. We'll get some more more comments in here. We'll go a few more minutes. The Kings last night played the Clippers tough. Don't think that matters necessarily as it relates to the Warriors, two very different teams. But that was a close game most of the night. Clippers kind of pulled away with about 2-3 minutes to go. They were up 9. Kings ended up going on what was it? It ended up being on a 10-2 run to finish it. Clippers missed a couple free throws late also. Kings stole the inbounds pass down by a point with about 3 seconds to go and ended up getting a chance after a timeout to win it. But DeMar DeRozan ended up with kind of a woof shot as Ivica Zubac closed him off as he was trying to draw a foul or put up a game-winning attempt that went awry. They had to work last night, is my point. Kings didn't win. Clippers won. Clippers were most of the second half in control, although up single digits, 6-7 points a lot of the second half. But they had to earn it. They had to work for it. I talked about the quick turnaround for the Warriors with the night game last night and the travel and then playing the afternoon game Sunday. It's not a back-to-back, but it's close. Again, I sound like effing Fitz when I say that, but it just makes me shudder. But the Clippers with Kawhi and Harden, that impacts them. And, in terms of fatigue, especially Kawhi, who doesn't play back-to-back. So this is as close to a back-to-back for Kawhi as he will play in. So I think if there is a fatigue advantage, I think you get a lift coming home if you're the Warriors, and I think you get a lift by the fact that Steph didn't have to play in the fourth quarter. This thumb thing for Steph is another problem. That's another reason why you don't want to mess around. This thumb thing, and he kept getting hit on the thumb in the game last night. The Clippers are going to look to hit that thumb. The Rockets are going to look to hit that thumb. Maybe you want to avoid the Lakers are going to look to hit that thumb too. But the thumb thing for Steph is a little worrisome. Not that he can't play through it, but does it impact his effectiveness? And is it something that's going to keep getting hit? And he can play through it now, but does there come a point where maybe he can't play through it, or he can't play effectively through it?
No, that's a good point, and I think put that on the list of another reason why the Warriors need to win tomorrow, so that Steph gets that full week of rest.
Yeah, it just don't mess around. EB here, if the Warriors get the 7 seed, a home game would make millions. A home game in the play-in would make millions. That's true. That's true. All right, let's get a couple in the chat, and then we'll end it, and we'll talk tomorrow. EB here, JK, gonna be the Joey Bart of the Warriors. It didn't work out. Move on. He's better than that. He's better than that. And again, I think you have to. Andis Brown, shitty mitty, LOL. Going to be my fantasy basketball team names next year. Yeah, like that. Just there is nothing worse than a guy that takes that shot and can't make it consistently, but keeps taking it. Like, especially in today's NBA, where it's like get to the rim or shoot the three or keep it moving or get to the line. Like it just does not. Analytically, it doesn't work. In addition to the aesthetics of the, there's just so many, so few guys who are great at that shot now. Cause I think it gets practiced less because people want to get to the 3-point shot. So good point. And just glad I could be of help to your fantasy basketball team. Amir Bandek, I'm dead serious here, guys. The Dubs should sit out the big 3 tomorrow. Wow. And have them well rested for the Grizzlies on Tuesday. I don't want to see the Lakers in the first round. I appreciate the honesty. I don't know if a lot of Warrior fans would go that route. It is interesting. I wonder how much of, and we did the poll question last night, Lakers, Rockets, Thunder. And it was like 70% Lakers, 25% Rockets, 5% or less Thunder. And so I was stunned. How much of that, though, Kyle, is Warrior fans not wanting to admit that they're A, afraid of the Lakers, or B, afraid of LeBron, specifically in the LeBron-Steph rivalry?
I that's a big thing for me because LeBron. There's LeBron, then
Never
there's
admit it,
playoff
Kyle.
LeBron, and then there's LeBron when he plays the Warriors. I
That's true.
like he goes 120. Like there's another gear when
Yes.
LeBron plays the Warriors.
No.
So
Yes.
like that. Like honestly,
He gets an extra protein smoothie or 5 when he
yeah,
plays.
yeah. He definitely doesn't forget to eat his Wheaties on Warrior days.
All
But
right. Yeah, go ahead.
or I was just gonna say, and I might eat my words, but I think Luka worries me less, but LeBron definitely worries me the most about playing the Lakers and the wild card that is Austin Reeves.
Yeah. Okay. The wild card that is Austin Reeves. Yeah, that's definitely. It may come down to the simple we talked about last night: Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith versus Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, and the combination of Kuminga, Heald, Quentin Post. Whoever's playing a lot, like who can win that matchup? Can Draymond defensively offset some of the deficiencies in that? Can the Warriors make Luka play as badly as he did and get as frustrated as he was last week? I think that's a pathway to help the Warriors to win. So yeah, we shall see as it relates to that. All right, let's do two more. Erwin, I'm surprised the Clippers made it to the end of the season intact. Well, I mean, Kawhi didn't play till January, and then they didn't play him in any back-to-backs. And James Harden's pretty durable. And Norm Powell was out, and when Norm Powell was out, they could barely win. Like the Clippers, honestly, if Norm Powell hadn't gotten hurt and missed a bunch of time, they would probably already be the 4 seed. They truly, if not, I mean, maybe battling the Lakers truly for 3. The Clippers, don't sleep on the Clippers. That I know we talked a little at the beginning. We talked a little bit in the last 10, 15 minutes about like the Clippers are really good. Like I think you could make the case the Clippers are a top 4 team. Like if you say, JD, who are the top 4 teams in the West going into the playoffs? I personally think it's OKC, the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Clippers. I think those are the top 4. I think Denver's a little bit below that because of the coaching change. I think the Rockets, because they're new to it, are a little bit below that. No disrespect to them. I think that the next tier is Denver Rockets Timberwolves or Denver Timberwolves Rockets. And then you've got the no chance tier, which is the Memphis. Memphis deserves to be 8. I actually hope they end up getting 8 and play Oklahoma City because they are so significantly better than Dallas and Sacramento that Dallas and Sacramento don't deserve to get in the playoffs this year at all. So I'm actually hoping Memphis gets the 8 seed when it's all said and done. Again, they're going to be like 7 games better, 8 games better than the 9 and the 10. So I hope, but Memphis has got no shot at doing anything in the playoffs, and the same obviously for Dallas and Sac if it ends up playing out that way. All right, one more, final one. Enter the Draymond. Yeah, I'm glad you hit this one. I think Enter the Draymond speaks for a lot of Warrior fans. Play in trauma. I have play in trauma. That is your Just Dubs comment of the day here.
There you go.
for the morning. So, all right, let's end it on that note. Kyle, great stuff, man. We went about an hour and 10, and YouTube only. We're going to be back tomorrow immediately following the Warriors and the Clippers. I'll be at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Stop by and say hi. Greg Silver on hand, and we'll be talking about the game. We'll join after extra innings on the radio, and then we've got you covered from there. Where will the Warriors be? We'll get into all the matchups. Is it the Lakers? Is it Memphis with potentially Houston? Talk mostly about the Lakers, but we'll talk. If it ends up being the Lakers, we didn't talk a lot about the Lakers matchup tonight or today. We'll get into that extensively tomorrow. The rest of the playoffs, once the brackets are set, I mean, we've got you covered here. And we got you covered all throughout the playoffs. We're going to be at Harmonic after every home game. We're going to be traveling for every away game. I'm going to be traveling for every single away game as far as the Warriors go. So that we can book that right now. I know our buddy Austin Scott's going to be going, I think, in the first round. But it just, we're rolling. It's the best Dubs coverage in the Bay. It's unrivaled, and we're here for you. And again, there are going to be a lot of nights where it's going to be YouTube only. We're still working, Kyle, on the phone component, maybe to some shows that aren't going to be on 680 because of a Giants game here or there. We're going to kind of sort through all of that. But as far as the Warriors go, we got you covered. So we'll talk to you tomorrow, right at the end of the Warriors and the Clippers from Harmonic. Andis Brown, JD praying somehow Miami gets moved to the West for the playoffs. Yeah. No more Miami making a run to the finals without playoff Jimmy.
I like it here off the court.
Yeah. We had a good time. We had a good time in Miami for that trip. But yeah, no Miami, but you never know. There might be a couple of LAs, although I don't know. I don't know. Too much LA.
Too much LA is bad for you, JD.
Too much LA is not good. Too much LA and quickly not good. Like, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret to end the show here. I don't really root, right, as an objective media member, but I would have rather gone to Denver. Just forget about, I'm not talking about basketball. I would have rather gone to Denver than LA. I would have rather gone to Denver for just 4 or 5 days, and maybe you go back for game 5 for a day or two. I would rather have an extended Denver week than an extended. That's just kind of how I roll. Denver, very underrated. Denver's not happening now, by the way, in the first round. So I need to get that out of my. I was kind of disappointed. If I was rooting for anything, it was, maybe DeMar DeRozan hits that shot at the end and it puts Denver back in play, just from a travel standpoint. But yeah, that's how I roll, Kyle, on that.
Well, what would really suck, and this is the least likely scenario.
LA.
What would really suck is like Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, not bad.
Really?
Oklahoma City, underrated. It's Oklahoma City.
What? Yeah.
It's Oklahoma City. But for Oklahoma City's not as bad as you think. I have been to Oklahoma City for the conference finals in 2016. It's small, but a lot of the things are in one little area called Bricktown, next to downtown. But you can find things to do. Ask Greg Papa about that. Greg Papa and I found our way to a few places during that series. We were watching Giants games late at night. Like, we had a good time. We found the spots in OKC. So yeah, it's OKC. So I don't want to act like it's like Miami. Like, it's obviously it's not.
It's good for a night or two.
But I can deal with OKC. I can.
Yeah.
You can find things to do, I think, pretty much everywhere. But I can deal with OKC. I can deal with Houston. I've been to Houston a lot. I think Houston and Cleveland are the two that I've been to the most over the last decade. The Warriors played Houston a ton. Portland in there too. LA, obviously, but I can deal. Houston's not maybe my favorite, but you can make Houston work. You can make Houston work. You can make OKC work. You can make LA work. I mean, LA's fine. It just, LA. How about Lakers first round, and then the Clippers drop to 7, play the Rockets, and the Clippers win that series, and then you play the Clippers in the second round.
Gonna need to get like a timeshare or something.
Lakers first round. I'm gonna need to invest in some a beach house and at Manhattan Beach. Give me a Santa Monica beach house for the next month if it ends up being that. All right, for Kyle, I'm JD. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. This has been Just Dubs here on The Sports Leader.